Hey, welcome to another episode on the CI podcast. CI stands for Curious Intern, in case you're wondering, which by now I guess you shouldn't. If this is your first time, I want to give you a big hands up or a thumbs up, whichever one pleases you. But I'm so glad you could join in, and I would just like to use this opportunity to ask you to listen to other episodes because I would like you to start the journey with us from the very beginning, which is like last year or last 2 years. Wow, guys, it's been a long time. But we'll say this is like our second year or our second season. So I don't know what time you're listening in, what day of the month, what year, but this episode should be released or was released, depending on the time you're listening in, at the last week in the month of January 2024. Which means 2024 January is actually over. Like, we are done with that month and we are never getting it back. I remember I think 31st in church, and the pastor was telling us to pray, and then he said something really striking. He said 2023 is going and we will never get it back. Like, we would never get it back. So many years have gone by and we are actually not going to ever get those time back. Like, the moments we spend, the aging, everything, it's gone. So it really, really does matter what we do with each 24 hours we get and all. By now, the topic of this podcast should be there. But lately, I've been trying to do this mystic, what do we call it? Mystic vibe, or like, I'll put a title, but like the whole body of my message is just what the title is. I might not necessarily just come and say, we're going to talk about drugs, and then the title of my listing will be drugs. It just means that I might talk about things about drugs and how they affect, so that's like the angle I want to be coming in. So yeah, it's like the last week in January. January 2024 is finally gone. And I think the first episode I released this year I believe the first episode I released this year, was just trying to encourage us to tell us how to not repeat or make the same mistakes we made. And then I thought about, because it really takes deep thinking, guys, on what to talk about to people, because as many times as you would like to talk, or as many would like to release feelings, or just want to, I want to hop on the content trend, I want to do this or that, it's generally not just to release. You hope to be sending a message, you hope to be imparting lives, you hope to be making sense. And so we can only do as much research, we can only do as much of our own part to really tell people, to really teach. Sometimes when I listen to myself, I really do hope I'm making sense, or I really do hope I'm passing the message I want to pass across. But I would leave myself with that hope and just be like, yes, you did your best, or you did what you could do at that particular moment. So during the course of January, after the first episode I released, I went into my what do you call it now? My curious cabinet. Like, okay, what do I do? And it struck me, this podcast is a Christian lifestyle podcast, right? Which means, as much as we would like to talk about life and all that, I want us to really, really like reflect on the month and give glory and honor to whom honor is due. The month of January, to me, has been quite interesting, quite what's another word for demystifying, or favored. Okay, let's go with favored. I just had to really reflect on the goodness of God in my life, and I just realized 31 days shouldn't be taken as just that day. Every year we start with the month of January. A lot of churches, or most people, make up their New Year resolution, make up their fasting that time to prepare, because the truth is we have 12 months in the year. You must set aside at least the beginning, most times it's the beginning or the ending of whatever thing you're about to start, to dedicate or to plan or to prepare. So January is generally a month where people prepare, where people reflect on the past choices and make plans towards the new ones. And January is just quite busy. So many people say it's a slow month, and I think it's on purpose. It's a deliberately slow month, because if it was too fast, and you were using that month to prepare, you were using that month to plan, you would not be able to say, oh, I did this and that so much. But because January is slow, in quotes, because I still feel like it's still the same 24 hours of every day, but like in quote, it's slow. You cannot, at the middle of the year, you cannot say, oh, my January, I did nothing, because there was enough slowness in the month for you to really sit down and reflect. So I decided to reflect on the goodness of God and to bring to our memory or to our remembrance what it is that they say when they say God is good. Because we're going into the remaining 11 months, and if you don't have something to convict you or to make you strong, because let's not lie to ourselves, 11 months we do not know what is in store for us. We can only plan around it. We can only make guesses. We can only say, okay, yes, I planned that, oh, by February ending I will be at so place or this and that, but we don't know what each day has in store for us. The only one that knows is God. And so when someone tells you God is good, I want you to be able to say that to yourself at every stage in the year and take it to heart. And when things are happening that are outside your control, outside your plan, you would not forget that God is good. So this brings me to my real purpose of my podcast, which is trying to let us understand the real deep meaning when they say God is good, so that as you're going on in this year, as you're going on towards December 2024, even if at the end all you can say is God was so good to me, and I can still say God is good. Now, when you're saying that, I want you to be able to say that with so much conviction. So first off, what do we understand by good? Everybody's always saying, oh, this is good or bad, or someone's always saying, you're such a good person, or someone will tell you, this road is good, this way is not good, this is bad, right? I decided to check the dictionary, thanks to Google. I decided to check the Google dictionary, which is like different. They'll give you different dictionaries, right? Oxford, Webster, and all that. So Webster dictionary, and then I found that the definition of good by man. They have the noun definition, we have the adjective definition, and the good definition in the adjective form means to be approved of or to be desired. Meaning, if you say something is good, it means that you approve of it or you desire it. Then for noun, if you are defining good as per a noun form, it means something is morally right. That which is morally right. So you're saying something is good in the noun form, like this action he or she did, or putting it in noun form means that whatever it is morally right. Or we have other things that like synonym to good, like things that meaning that are close to the word good. So we have things like virtuous, enjoyable, pleasant, high standard. And so these are all definitions given to us by men, that this is what good should be counted as. And then, what does God define good? When it was saying in the book of Genesis, it says in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, and the earth was without form, blah blah, let there be light, and then he said he saw the light and it was good. Now, a lot of the verses after God created things, he would say he saw this and it was good. So it's like, what exactly is good to God? And then I realized this simple thing: God is good. Meaning the equality, there is no other way than this simple thing. God is equal to good. God is equal to the desire. God is equal to being approved of. God is equal to being virtuous. God is equal to pleasant. God is equal to anything that we might want to call good, because God in himself is good. Yes, I don't know if that's too big to swallow, but I really just want us to let that dig deep. So anything that happens to you that you feel, oh, I should consider this good, or I should consider this thing bad, or I should consider, just remember that the real definition of what you should stand at as good is God. So when something happens to you and you want to measure it up by being right or wrong, you measure it by God. So when he created light and said that it was good, he realized, he said, this is up to me. This standard of light is my standard. This is what I consider to be good. So if God creates you and says you are a good person, you are mine, you just know that you're up to his standard. So he makes all things good. He gives only good. Whatever comes out of God, whatever proceeds from God, whatever he represents, whatever he does is good. He cannot do anything apart from good. Then we have things like faithful, we have things like kind. You know how God embodies a lot of dimensions, and today I just want to talk about the goodness of God. So the goodness of God is continuous. It's like his actions. So you're telling me I'm enjoying the goodness of God, meaning you are enjoying the continuous actions or the continuous blessings that he's doing towards you. His continuous presence in your life is what you are enjoying. So as you are moving towards the next 11 months and you are serving God and you are doing actions and you're going through certain storms of life, understand this, that whatever God does is good for you. Whatever you are going through, at the end of it, is only going to benefit you. It's only going to meet his standard of good. Yes, life is not fair. There are waters, there are storms, there are fires. I mean, not just alone in this month of January, as slow as it is, I have seen how people say, January is when your money finishes and you just don't have anymore. I would say I experienced that because I'm in a new city and certain things I have to get for myself. It's not like I entered this month with so much money, right? So certain things I had to get for myself, and yes, they would require money. And so because of the way the country is and the whole economy, yes, my money ended up depleting to a certain level that I could not afford certain things at my will. And to rely on the goodness of God in that moment could be difficult, right? Because you'll be like, what if my situation does not look good to me? And God, you're a good God. Why would you do this to me, right? But a good God, because he's a good God, he wants you to understand that don't let the situation define your goodness or define my goodness. Like, do not let your circumstance define his goodness to you. He's the only one that can define it to you. His actions alone are the ones that define his goodness to you. So I came out of that, guys. I mean, the next month, I am still living and breathing, and God is still with me. That's who a good God is. He won't deceive me and say, oh, you're not going to pass through hardships. You're not going to pass through this and that. He didn't deceive. He made promises instead. I had the most phrase used in the Bible is, do not be afraid, do not fear. And I feel like I know that God mentioned that a lot because he knows that on this earth, there are a lot of things that we would want to be afraid of. We would feel like we're alone, we're desperately alone. But he's reminding us not to be afraid. It's like, do not fear, do not be dismayed, do not be afraid, let your heart not be troubled, for I have overcome the world. That is the goodness of God. The goodness of God is his own action, his own promises to you concerning when you pass through the storms, concerning when you pass through the fire, concerning when you pass through waters. He's like, I will be with you. I would stay. I would remain with you. That is my goodness. That is me being good to you. apart from the blessings and the wonders that we get, hearing from God, experiencing life anew each day. So his mercies are renewed every morning. Surely his goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. It's not a mistake that the word goodness is there. It's not a mistake that the word good is like mentioned in the first book of the Bible, the first chapter itself. And God saw that it was good. And God is good. So go with that conviction, go with that strength this remaining month of the year, that God is good, that no matter what I'm facing, no matter how hard the circumstances, no matter how good the circumstances, no matter how wonderful anything I'm going to go through in this next 11 months of the year 2024, I will rely on the fact that God is good. No matter how bad the human beings can get, no matter how bad man will want to fail me, I want to rely on the fact that God is good and will forever remain good. So guys, there's so much more to come up in the CI podcast, but I just felt like we should round up this month, January 2024, remembering and reminding and staying solidly, soaking ourselves, right, in the word God is good, because so many promises have gone forth in this year. So many things have been said to us in our churches by ourselves. So many plans have been made that the enemy is going to want to, make that destroyed. Like, you're just going to want to fight that. Sometimes our greatest enemy is ourselves, guys. Like, you would be the one to even start doubting that you can do it. But if you can remember that you are serving a good God. If you're not serving a good God yet, I want to invite you to come and serve the good God. He is a good God. I have so much to say more whenever I'm talking about the goodness of God, whenever I'm talking about God in general. But, this is just one of those moments where we would talk about this in detail. Most times in my podcast, for new listeners, I mention it along passing because it's a lifestyle podcast. So meaning that we are talking about life in general, questions that could just come up and you're just sitting down. Some people will start asking you funny things. I get those funny questions sometimes, and I come here on my podcast to share the answers I get. Most of the time, in the end, you realize that I'm talking based on a Christian perspective. So, yeah. Thank you for listening, guys. And I'm always going to be open to comments, to share. And I realized that if you've not subscribed to Spotify, and that's when you can't comment. It's not really hard to subscribe, guys. I feel like you should add that to your New Year resolution. Subscribe to whatever medium you're using to listen to my podcast, okay? So you can comment, share, and follow on Instagram, where you can always DM me questions and DM me responses and encouragement, because I like to be encouraged. I would like to be encouraged, okay? So thank you for listening, guys. God bless you. Once again, this is the CI podcast, Curious Intern. And till next time, bye.